Welcome to the Loveland All Sports Podcast, where the land of love can get updates on not only Loveland sports, but learn and discuss many sports topics. Shoot any ideas you want to lovelandallsports@gmail.com, and be sure to follow us on Facebook at the Loveland All Sports Pod. Loveland All Sports Pod is sponsored by Meredith DeWitt of Brittany Fritz Realty, Loveland's #1 boutique brokerage. Contact Meredith for any and all of your real estate needs at meredithbfteam@gmail.com. This episode is a treat. Yes, it's a tad self-serving, but any college football fan will enjoy this episode, where I get together with 6 of my former football teammates from Indiana University to discuss the NIL, transfer portal, some great college football stories, IU's recent success, and of course, the outlook for this weekend's IU versus OSU game. You will see the passion from these men that being part of a brotherhood that college football provides. So please enjoy this episode and go Hoosiers. All right, well, here we are having a great opportunity, having a happy hour with some of my friends from Indiana University, where we played football together in the early 90s. Naturally, the success that Indiana has had this year and this week playing Ohio State, I thought it would be fun to have an IU Ohio State episode from an Indiana perspective. I got with us a safety officer, executive, hunter, musician, cyclist, comedian. I got a lifelong city park department guy that does amazing things for kids while navigating the politics of big cities. And he also dabbled in stand-up comedy. I got an auto sales mogul that used to drive Lamborghinis for fun. I got a biz ops guy that volunteers for adaptive horse riding opportunities for disabled and underprivileged kids. And we'll hopefully have a guest here that joins us as a VP of a company and a high school legend that still has national and state football records. But every one of these guys is a community evangelist that does a ton of volunteer projects. They're hunters, they're golfers, they're coaches. But a bit more importantly, we got great dads. We got lifelong friends that can pick up after years and not skip a beat. We can laugh a lot. We can still fire back a beer bong, and we'll always have each other's backs tomorrow. All while these guys are leading successful careers, we just happen to have a great chapter of our lives playing Big Ten football together at Indiana. So welcome, boys. How are we doing tonight?
Good. Awesome, Josh, man. It's good to see you guys.
Good. Yeah, this is great. We joked we feel like COVID right now, where we're doing a happy hour here on Zoom, but a lazy Tuesday night for a good excuse for a bunch of dudes to get together. But since 1901, Indiana is 12-80-5 against Ohio State. I'm happy to say that one of those ties, were us in 1990, because we're so old, they still had ties in college football. So to kick this off, guys, and again, didn't want to introduce all of you by name, but, we've got Jason Boyd, Tim O'Connell, Jim DeGiulio, Chris Smith, and myself, Josh DeWitt. Let's just go around the horn. Tell me some of your thoughts on this year's success for IU.
I'll start. It was something interesting, is I've been vehemently opposed to the transfer portal and NIL. I don't like necessarily what I felt like it had done to college football, but this season doesn't happen without it. So with Coach Sig coming in and being able to bring some players with him from James Madison and bring some other guys in, it's really created something that's kind of magic. And really, at the end of the day, it's also bringing all of us together again, which we, sometimes we'll go years almost without speaking or whatever the case may be. And now we've had a reason to text and talk to each other and get together. And it's pretty special, to be honest.
And Jim DeGiulio was a punter at IU, and he grew up in Columbus. So this is a special time for you, man, huh?
Yeah, it's this game was always a big game for sure.
And Chris Smith is, we're all jealous of Smitty because he lives in Bloomington, Indiana, the center of the universe we call Bloomington. And so, Chris, you're probably the most connected to the football program because of where you live and how involved you are and the people you know, man. What are you feeling right now?
Yeah, I think it's really been surreal, to be honest with you. I mean, having been at every home game this season and being a part of the crowd experience, and just watching the transformation of everything that's gone, but that we've gone through over the past 10 weeks or so. Early on in the season, as we were playing, teams like FIU and Western Illinois, by the middle of the third quarter, I mean, there was probably somewhere south of 10,000 people that were still sitting in those stands. And now to come full circle with that we have, sold out games, with Michigan and Purdue and Nebraska. And, it's just amazing to see, what transformation has unfolded in front of us. And I'll be honest with you, there's been, a few times where, you're sitting in that stadium, you're watching what's going on, and you just, coming to terms with the idea that we're actually a program that we once were, and probably even better. You get emotional about it. There's been, a few times where, I'm sitting there and, my family's next to me. And in fact, Troy Drake comes in, for all the home games as well, too. We just sort of sit there in amazement and just, we're just sort of beside ourselves in the fact that we're actually, witness firsthand what's happening in the transformation of this program. And it's actually pretty spectacular to see. And it's just something that quite honestly, until you're actually here in the crowd and you're seeing the waving towels and everything, it's really something that, I think that we had all hoped for over the past 30 years or so.
Awesome. Boydo, you basically live in Cincinnati, Ohio, living in Lawrenceburg, Indiana, man. Tell us a little bit about what it's like going to work with all those Buckeye fans.
Yeah, so I'm living in what we call fake Cincinnati. It has been an experience. I've always worked in this area, so worked with a lot of guys from Ohio, and so I've had to bite my tongue lots of years, and so I'm looking forward to this weekend. I'm actually looking forward to Monday because I'm hoping it goes our way. And if it does, I'm going to be pretty unbearable to live with for at least the next year. But as I go back to what Smitty was talking about, what was interesting to me as this season started is you started seeing these records be broken from 93 and 91 and, the years that we were there, which was a long time ago. But it was great to see and feel that. And then, when you were at work, folks saying, man, Indiana really rolled this week. And it's like, yeah, that they're a program on the come up for sure. So, I mean, it's been a great year to watch. And I was there with Smitty and them a few weeks ago for the Michigan game. And that was the first time I had been up. And, to see the corners of the end of the high side and the low side completely packed. I mean, the towels waving. I mean, it was an electric atmosphere, and look forward to a lot more of that.
Yeah, OC, you live in Chicago, a big city. Do you get any of the pub up there, the positive IU experience, and what this week means?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of Big Ten alumni in Chicago, and probably through the years get a lot of, kind of jokes or ridicule if there's knowledge of like being a part of football at Indiana. When everyone there's a strong Ohio State, Michigan, and even those times the Northwestern and Wisconsin had success, they're right around us. But I mean, it's such a rapid fire type of thing, like kind of old school thinking. You build programs, you kind of, like even our wonderful Bears right now, you think it's like, you're incrementally improving. So for it to be like, lightning quick, it's just, that is surreal. That's the only way to say it. It is. I like what everybody said, but like Jason referring back to our time, I mean, we're fortunate to go to 3 bowl games when there weren't like 100 or there weren't like as many bowl games as there are now. It was really a big deal, even the way to do that. And, I when I think of it, it's really exciting because of all the relationships and everything that happened for us in that program and at that school. So it's just, being back there a couple weeks ago was so much fun. It's fun anyway, when there's plenty of parking and no one's in this, not many people in the stadium. But when you add those factors that are kind of different, I don't know. It's just really exciting. It kind of reminds me of the White Sox, when they went to the World Series. It was not expected. And being in the tailgating and stuff, it was like, like utopia. People were just sharing things. No one cared whose was whose. And it kind of felt a little bit like that against Michigan.
Yeah, Boyd, how much was a parking pass if you went through your ticket guy for 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, for Michigan, it was $436 on the low end to park in the grass somewhere, which which was a little bit odd compared to the 20 or 25 bucks that was the historic running rate. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry, Josh. I was going to say what was really, really great, I thought, was post game at Michigan, just all the former players out in the parking lot at the tailgates together and just the enthusiasm on their face. Like, just it was just kind of, it was hit, you could see it hit everybody that we just beat Michigan. And that wasn't something that's commonplace. And, just you got 20 or 30 guys you played with out there and everybody's kind of elated over that. And that was a neat moment too.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I mean, myself being from Ohio, living in Ohio, every day, every week, all I do is defend Indiana football. I mean, and you can't, a couple of you guys alluded to it, but we only had one losing record when we were there in '92. We were 5-6, so it wasn't like we were that bad. But went to the 3 bowl games, and we had all kinds of success and whatnot. But the one thing we could never get over was Ohio State. They're definitely a different level than most programs in the country. And IU unfortunately went the other way after a carousel of coaches and the parity of college football and the way things occurred. You had to have some teams go south because other teams like Boise State and Tulsa and or TCU, I'm thinking of, these teams started replacing where we were in the middle of the Big Ten. And so it's pretty awesome to see. And I think we've earned the right to be proud. And I can't tell you how many times walking around my community the last month and a half, people are just migrate to me to say, DeWitt, what's up? Your team, they're for real. Yeah, you're the same guy that told me years ago, does IU even have a football team anymore? Are you guys getting regulated to 1AA yet? And it's like, dude, we still had some pretty good success. And it really hit me the other day when Charlie texted Meredith and I from school, and he said, I am so annoyed. And that's all he said. And Meredith wrote back, so what? What's wrong? What's wrong? He goes, all these posers are wearing IU stuff now. They never wore IU stuff before, and now everybody's got IU garb on. So I thought that was pretty cool. But thinking back to, in 91, we tied, in 1990, we tied. In 91, we lost by 4. In 92, they started having some pretty damn good teams. I fortunately got to play center in that game, but I was blocking against Big Daddy Dan Wilkinson. And if I chipped off him, I was blocking Steve Tovar. And then in 93, 94, they beat us pretty good. But Eddie George, Bobby Hoying, Joey Galloway, Corey Stringer, Orlando Pace, Terry Glenn, Ricky Dudley. On defense, Luke Fickle, Matt Finkus, Sean Springs, Mike Vrabel. Dude, those are household names that this country watched in the NFL for a long time. So it's pretty neat to see that we're going to compete at this level and start something that could be a long future, at least for the next 8 years, right? Because Cignetti just signed
an extension.
Extension, right? So Smitty, got to ask you this. Again, being our Bloomington connection, man, what in the world would Coach Mallory be thinking right now?
That's a good question. And I think that, just in my opinion, I think he would be ecstatic. We have watched, over the past, almost 28 years now, a number of coaches come and go throughout this program. And I think that we've all longed to see, somebody at the helm that's held, the same amount of character and integrity that Coach Mal did. And I think that we saw glimpses of that over the years, and we've seen flashes of it every now and then. But when you really look at Coach Cignetti and what he's doing there, it sort of takes you back to where we once were, and that is having sort of a no BS approach to to the game and just go out there and get things done. The funny thing is about Coach Mal and what the parallels or comparisons I see with Coach Cignetti as well too, is that they don't go out in front of the press trying to impress people or try to get sound bites, but yet through every single interview there tends to be that one little bit of sound bite that comes out of it that you're just going, yep, that resonates with me, and I genuinely feel where Coach Cignetti is coming from. But I think that it's the culture that it gets back to at the end of the day, that he's building a winning culture, and that's something that all of us on relate to, that we had a winning culture within our program. And that was something that, Coach Mallory established, after years of losing. And now I feel as though that's coming back again, and that we're, feeling that, once again, that you can take some pride, not just in the program, but in the culture of the program as well, too.
Yeah, Coach Mallory, for those who don't know, obviously he was a legend within college football. We all played for him. He passed away in 2018. But what's special is he grew up in Ohio, and he was a graduate assistant with Bo Schembechler under Woody Hayes. And he always used to tell us that, Buckeyes, they're just a bunch of worthless nuts. We used to throw them at each other when we were kids. And, he used to put that Ohio State game, right up there against Purdue and Kentucky, our two big rivalries back in the early 90s. And it was you started to learn that, especially for those of us from Ohio, Jim and I, man, it was like Ohio State was the top. And you got to see Coach Mallory's passion in how much we hate those guys. And it's because of this. It's because of where they are as a true program that we were aspiring to be. But having that opportunity to play against them strong and beat them was pretty powerful.
And Josh, thinking about Coach Mallory and that enthusiasm, when you're asking how Coach Mallory would be right now, could you imagine what the meetings would be like? What the intensity and how fired up he would be for this week, especially in this situation, right? You're taking two top 5 ranked teams in undefeated Indiana into Columbus. I'll never forget him telling the stories about Dave Schnell, right? When they beat Ohio State and they're backed up on the 1 yard line, and he starts telling the crowd to get louder, right? And drives down and beats Ohio State. And that was when Earl Bruce was there. They call it the darkest day in Ohio State football history, which is another reason why we can't stand them, because it's no respect for us.
Right.
But to see him in a meeting right now would be, oh man, that'd be priceless. It'd be unbelievable.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. We have a guest. Is that Brett Law on there? iPhone 3?
Working on it. Hold on.
All right.
You buckle up, kids.
What I do.
Well, welcome, Brett. If you can hear us, man, we'll keep talking here. We're just having a little fun, talking some stories about Ohio State, and let me know when you're able to chat. One thing that I'll never forget, and this is more for the audience to hear, it's a great story about Coach Mallory and his time at Ohio State. And this was a fortunate opportunity when a couple of us on the phone here had dinner with Coach Mal, and he was telling us a story about Woody Hayes, and he always used to wear fake Rolexes. And what he would do at pregame is he would take these fake Rolexes off after he got the team all fired up, and he'd put that Rolex on the ground and he'd smash them. And he would crack them, and these 20-year-old kids thought he was breaking a $1,000 watch, and he's going nuts. And then one game, Coach Hayes looks down, and he's got his real Rolex on. He doesn't have his fake. And so he looks down there, and he's about to smash his real Rolex, and he stops his comments, and he says, "Boys, this game's different. We're going to play with poise. We're going to be calm and collective. We're not going to play with outright abandonment. And I'm not going to break the watch." And some big offensive lineman in the front row goes, "Coach, if you can't do it, I will." And this big dude jumped up and just smashed the hell out of Coach Hayes' watch. So, it's a great story to share, for all my Ohio State friends out there to hear that story coming straight from Woody Hayes. That's awesome. So Brett Law's on. He's one of our friends. He's a coworker, and he's a guy I alluded to that's currently a VP of a company, but he's a high school legend. And I want to talk a little bit about the NIL. Ohio State's NIL budget is $20 million. IU's is $3 million. But Brett Law had 141 touchdowns in his career in high school. That was a national record. 116 of those were rushing, which is a national record. He had 952 points, 6,800 yards rushing. How many of your state and national records are still standing, B-Law?
Only the one.
Only one?
The 453 points in a single season.
That's awesome. And that's 30 some years ago, brother. So with this NIL thing, What would you be asking, man, from an LIL point of view, coming out with those kind of stats?
The Shadur Sanders type of asking. It's it's just gotten crazy. I guess I'll just back up Josh and just say that I think there's a time and a place for it. And I think we even felt that way back then. But at the same time, I think that it's gotten carried away. I think there's got to be some bookends put on it, and somebody's got to step in and take control of this situation. It's just getting out of hand. Guys are leaving school successfully, right? What's the Ohio State quarterback here just a few years ago or just last year that leaves and goes to Syracuse? And Pacey knows him well, family well, and it was just purely an NIL move. And that's, in my opinion, I just think that's overboard. That's something that college athletics was not built upon historically. And the fact that the game is losing the history values really concerns me.
Yeah. It's free agency all the time.
Yeah.
You got guys leaving mid-season, which is unbelievable.
The UNLV guy, right, Jim?
Yeah. Yeah, that was huge news. And then there was another guy that was going to leave, and they started off gangbusters, right? And next thing you know, you got a bunch of turmoil on the team because he wants to go get a better NIL deal somewhere else. And so I'm with Brett 100%. I mean, I've always thought that athletes should be paid. If you take a look at what we put into the sport and the time commitment, I mean, we all basically had a full-time job through college.
Right.
And there was guys that came from backgrounds that were less fortunate than ours, and they had trouble just going out and getting a pizza or whatever the case may be. And so I've always been
went to coach. Remember many guys that came up from Florida and Georgia?
Yeah,
they didn't have a winter coat, and absolutely, just man.
I think about
go ahead, Tim.
I mean, coming from a different perspective, like remember when we had to do like a time card?
Yeah,
really was the start. It was the start of something there, right? Because it was like, and you had guys in the position room, and you'd be like, "So the weight room, no, that doesn't count. The film, no, that doesn't count. It's just practice. Okay, well, the game, like we showed up, no, it's the time of the game, And so as we get older and work in different environments, and there's unions and there's all these other things, you start to think like that was 1990, and then you had like Northwestern 4 or 5 years ago, really pushing to like almost have a players union. I think this is all intentional, like to have total chaos, be like, hey, you wanted it, you got it, with no rules. And there's going to be a phase 2, but this initial one was to be like, all right, probably to avoid, to be honest, like major lawsuit or payouts from the NCAA, who in the other hand, as tonight we see the college football playoff going to 12 teams and all the media and everything, the money just skyrocketed again, so where it's almost like, it's just interesting to see how it'll evolve. It's definitely out of control. But Jim, you had a good point about, coaches go wherever coaches that, they call this thing like the dead money. There was like, people were still paying coaches that were gone, and boosters will come in and just pick that up and pay it. So now, it was like, well, coaches could do whatever they want. And there, you had Coach Kelly walking out of Notre Dame and going into LSU and those type of things. And you're like, this is backwards. Like kids should be able to move around too. So, I mean, there's like a lot of different ways to look at it, but I definitely think it was just chaos, like intentional. And then it's going to sort itself out in the coming years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I want to bring it back though, because I think I agree with Brett and also Jim as well too. So if you were to take that scenario, that situation in regards to NIL and transfer portal, and put that back, to the 1990s, we look at all of each other and the opportunity that we had in terms of gaining friendships, spending time with each other, living, together. Would that have existed back then? Because you see such a fraction within a lot of these programs that these kids are coming and going, almost at will. And the level of loyalty is to the money and not to the program in a lot of cases. And, that I think, I've had that conversation with, our other teammate, Troy Drake, about that, is to say, what would that, how would that have changed the dynamic of teams back then? And, would we have still had the same, continuity as we, had
Right.
in terms of teammates and so forth. So I'm not saying that would have changed, who we are, but I do, wonder sometimes to say, are the kids today are having the same experience that we did? And it's a different game. It's a different, it's more of a business now than what it was back 30 years ago. But I think it's one of those, conversations nonetheless to say, what would that have changed if we would have had the access to the same things that these student athletes have today?
And I mean, that's a great point, Smitty. A question I've got for you guys is, do you think from a resilience and a work ethic point of view that some of the lessons being taught, I'm not getting enough minutes, so I'm going in the transfer portal, right? Instead of looking at what can I do to get better, having that conversation, what do I need to do? We all basically run companies, and we've been around, employees and a lot of employees, and generally speaking, former college athletes have been wired totally different. And, there was a period of time where if I could only hire a former college athlete, I would. It would have been spectacular. But, do you guys think any of that will go away as people are just chasing the money, or they're, like I said, they're not getting enough minutes, so they're going to go somewhere else, or, whatever the case may be? What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I 100%. Jim, I'm a prime example of that. I've told this story to other people. I mean, as you guys know, redshirted my first year, didn't see the field my second year, third year, I'm starting at freaking Indiana, man. This is amazing. Fourth year, lost out to the guy that I was filling in for the year before. My fifth year, got beat by a guy 2 years younger than me. I stuck it out, had a great experience with you guys, had a lot of great opportunities, and it taught me a lot of things that set me up for the rest of my career. In today's day and age, peace out. I would have been gone. I probably would have left after I got bumped down a couple rungs and went to Bowling Green or Miami of Ohio or somewhere and played, which would have been great, but I wouldn't have gotten a finance degree from one of the best business universities in the school, or best business colleges in the United States. Probably wouldn't have taught me how to strap up my boots when things got hard and just work my tail off. And I noticed that too when I interview people too. And it's just, that's my quick experience. Boyd, what are your thoughts?
I'm with you, Josh. You guys probably never heard the story, but I was on the verge of leaving myself to go to Butler, and I obviously did not do that. I'm glad that I didn't. The friendships that are made, the business school, and the degree that you earn. Tim brings up the time cards, man. That cracks me up because they'd stand over your shoulder and watch you fill those things in, right? And Smitty, to your point in regards to the whole NIL thing, it things would have been different, right? Because I probably would have come into the university as a freshman making a lot of money because of my high school attributes, but and then I'd struggle with the injuries and all the things that you guys are certainly aware of, right? And whether I would have made less money, got knocked back or whatever, but you're right. The friendships and just the things that are cultivated are without that money. I mean, just think about it, guys. We'd get $10 per diem on Thursdays when it was an away game, and we were excited that we had $10 in our pocket, right?
Pizza Express.
That's when Boyd and I would go buy mice to feed all the reptiles we had.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
no, it's great. Tim, were you going to add something? I thought.
No, Josh, we probably wouldn't be together like now. If that was the case, and someone said it might have been Troy Saturday after, when we talked about, hey, all these guys came and it was right away like, well, what about the relationships and the building of the relationships? And for me, I will say, like, I really was giving it a good shot. I thought between sophomore and junior year I was making some strides, and then two guys come along, Trevor and Al, and that sticks with me to this day because they were just better. You know what I mean? And that happens. And I'm looking at people all the time and they're just saying stuff. And I'm like, I even went to Coach Novak and said, well, whatever. I guess I thought that was part of it. I'd say, like, what do I do to get more playing time? And he goes, He said, make plays. And I was like, let me write that down, coach. You said, make plays. Okay. So let me go out there to practice. And, and it's like, it's this whole thing about figuring out, what's going on, like, and how you're going to respond to it. And, so obviously, but someone said it, I think it was Troy, like right in the parking lot, like, we're excited for the team, and I'm not trying to say anything bad. It's the business of sports, but the relationships definitely would have been impacted, if we're not those years, like that coming in as freshmen, not knowing each other, talking about Chicago football, Michigan, Ohio, Florida, people arguing about who's better and all that kind of stuff, feeling each other out, awesome memories.
Yeah. Speaking of a memory that ties this back to what really matters is family. Ohio State has a special place in your heart, Smitty. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I got a somewhat of a love-hate relationship with Columbus, Ohio. I mean, obviously, we all despise the Buckeyes there, but for me and for my bride, we would have never got to know each other if it wasn't for Ohio State. It was 91, our redshirt freshman year, and didn't make the travel squad. So you, Josh, myself, and then also another teammate of ours, Frank Ambrose, decided to make a road trip out of it. Spent the Friday night in Dayton, Ohio, before traveling over to Columbus to watch the game. I think we had a few Long Island iced teas out in the parking lot before the game, sitting in the family section, for IU. But at halftime, we went into the concession area around the corridor. Happened to meet a couple of young co-eds from IU while we were standing there, and one of them happened to have a big old bucket of popcorn, as she was standing there. So I feasted upon that opportunity to partake in the popcorn and introduce myself, and that was sort of the first introduction between Heather Kelly and Chris Smith. So we have obviously been together since then, and two kids and a whole lot of laughs and love later. But definitely, if it wasn't for Columbus, futures would have probably been a little bit different.
Tell me, you still have the bucket, right?
Still have the bucket, and still have a little bit of popcorn left in that bucket as well too.
Do you really? Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Great story. I mean, that's what it's about. So let's get a couple other memories going. So, Boyd, I challenged you guys to think about this at the beginning. What would you say, Jason, was one of your favorite on the field moments in college?
Well, I think about my maybe not my favorite, probably your favorite on the field moment with me is probably the hardest hit ever put on a field was DeWitt laying me out in the pregame at Northwestern in the end zone. I went from trying to be hyped up to taking one in the chin and staring at blue sky. So I remember that one. I know we talk about that one a lot, but I probably would think about, the first game that I really got any significant playing time, which was Michigan State. We beat them at home 31-0 in homecoming. And I just remember, going out on the field there, after the ones had come out and twos were going in and getting that playing time, just felt really special that like everything outside of the field kind of became a blur, and you're focused on the job at hand, and then just walking off the field with 31-0 on the board felt pretty good. So that's probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up. And I know we're on podcast here, but if I am almost 6'4" and Jason's 6'6", there wasn't many times I was pancaking Jason, but we were getting all fired up. Probably had Metallica blaring somewhere, and he comes running out. And he jumped at the right time that I went to headbutt him, and I just leveled him. And we're just staring. He's underneath my legs, man, and we're just laughing at each other. The whole place is going crazy, getting fired up, and we're laughing like 7-year-old boys. It was so fun. But
I was in concussion protocol for 5 days.
Yeah. No. Both of us were probably in the protocol there. So, Jim, I've got a couple great memories for you because I was Jim's long snapper. I played center for 1 year, started, but I long snapped for 3. So I'm actually one of those offensive linemen that loves kickers. and it started with because of a relationship with this guy, being roommates and whatnot. But what's one of your favorite on the field moments, Jim?
I think 1992 playing against Wisconsin at home, and we were backed up in our own end zone with balls on the 14. I was standing on the goal line, and they had called timeout right before halftime to try to get the ball back with some time on the clock. And I was able to hit it pretty good when it almost got blocked. It was really close. And Wisconsin had blocked a punt the year before against us, and that kind of stuck with me, but ended up being an 86-yard punt, and that was about as exciting as my career ever got. And then headbutting Boyd on the sideline, and you come up on the sideline doing the same thing, and it was that was just one of those moments that you can't recreate, you can't relive, you can't do anything. It was I guess relive it a little bit, but that was spectacular. And then there's just so many though. I mean, there's one of my favorite memories. I wasn't even on the field. We were at Kentucky, and I think we ended up with close to 600 yards rushing against him. But Brett comes in the game. I don't know if it was third or fourth quarter, and Boyd's in the huddle, and you guys are in there, and you guys are just coming off the field laughing your butts off. You tell them the law's coming, and hell's coming with me. And I mean, I wasn't even in the huddle. I wasn't even there, and I've been cracking up about that for 30 years. I mean, it was hilarious.
Right.
And we just kicked their butts. I mean, that was
we boat raced them that day, boys.
Oh man, that was that was a first class whooping right there.
Right.
I think that was my birthday. It was like that was on September 17th, right?
Because we had like 4 of you had over 100 yards.
I think there were 3, maybe 4 of us that had over 100 yards rushing. Yes.
Yeah, I think Jermaine had 202 or something like that, and Brett and Alex. I mean, we literally ran them over. We ran them out of the building. It was unbelievable.
And they were still throwing bourbon bottles at us probably on the way
out. 100%.
Marshmallows with pennies.
Marshmallows with
pennies. That was Wisconsin. Yeah, those guys.
Right.
I've always thought getting that Kentucky game back on the schedule would be great. Big Ten, SEC, that was a great rivalry game. The old bourbon barrel, and I mean that was just I just thought that was a great rivalry.
Well, I'll tell you what, I didn't know anything about that rivalry. Like Josh, you've mentioned a couple of times. I grew up in Columbus, and so I really grew up with Ohio State, and as far as big rivalries goes, Ohio State, Michigan, obviously, and so we're there freshman year. And Coach Mallory's starting to go through the schedule. We've got that big team meeting. And to be honest with you, I can't remember who we were playing in the first couple games. But we get to that third game, and the entire room changed. Like I didn't have any idea what that was all about. And Coach Mallory's like, and then Kentucky. And the whole room changed, the intensity changed, the feeling changed. I was like, whoa, okay, this is a deal here. And so, yeah, I mean, we were undefeated against Kentucky while all of us were there. And going down there and just absolutely boat racing when that was awesome.
Yeah. OC, you got some good on the field moments. What are your thoughts?
Oh, Josh, so many plays, significant plays. It's hard to whittle it down. So I got like a top 10, but I will say with Coach Mallory, I don't know if you remember this, and maybe you guys didn't have to do this, but I took it very seriously. We got like a note card, and it was like, "What do you want to do this season?" And I wrote down on that damn note card,
right,
the middle guy, the 0 guy on the kickoff return, right? And so that was what I did, right? But there was, of course, the one game that will go in infamy, when we played Toledo and we were up by about 30, and I think I was like the 5th string middle linebacker, and I got to get in there. And, this photo's been pretty much, it's iconic. And, I'm standing there and I got a feeling, I said, this quarterback, he's, they're running out the clock. I said, he's going to kneel down right, and sure enough, he kneeled down. I flew in there and I tapped him on the shoulder for the tackle for loss. And obviously that is a play that it turned the tide, I think, for the program. And it kind of set us up for where we're at now. You zoom ahead. And I think a lot of guys, when I was there at Michigan, a lot of guys were like, "You're the guy." you're the guy against Toledo. And I was like, yeah, that's me. I like to try to keep low
That's
profile.
great.
But yeah, that was definitely significant for me.
That's awesome. Well, off the field favorite moments, we could talk for hours. And, we also want to keep this suitable for public podcast. But one thing that I tell this story probably once a year, Brett. We got to tell a story about when we got the news to come into our backyard and do a live broadcast at the party after your dad smoked a pig all day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
You
How
just
did
sent
that
that
end up?
picture the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were beating Miami, and the sports guy was on the sidelines. And
Dan
Brett,
Patrick.
Dan Patrick.
Yeah.
Well, I had done if you guys remember, I had done that internship with the Colts that summer. And not only did I obviously already know these guys in advance, but I got to know them extremely well as a result of doing that internship. And so, as the ass beating was taking place, I proceeded to just tell the boys that, hey, listen, there's going to be a little party over at my place if you guys just want to set up and come on over. And my dad and my uncle have been smoking the pig. They got there early. It's going to be a nice little time. So, they showed up. I remember the van trucks with those
Satellites.
the satellites on top,
Yeah.
and Dave Calabro and I can't remember who the other stations that were there, but I remember obviously Channel 13 was there, and that was people still talk about it to this day. It was probably the biggest party that has ever taken place at Indiana University, maybe outside of Little Five or over at what were those apartments called?
Mercy Villas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a pretty big one. That we were there. We were there too. So
We may have been. I'm not sure if we were or not.
That's right. Protect the innocent. So
Yeah, that's right.
no, but what a night. I'll tell you, even that particular night, my current, my wife was there, and she still talks about to this day how it's probably the biggest party that that Indiana's ever had. And remember, the cops showed up, people running everywhere. It was just absolutely a free for all there for several hours. But what was crazy about it is Dave Calabro, I'll never forget. So back in the day, if you remember, you didn't have social media. You didn't have a method or a way to actually get it out there. And if you remember, they were saying, we're broadcasting live from Brett Law's place or whatever he said. And I think he even gave the address. And next thing you know, people start showing up. So
the stud and the studettes of Indiana, I think.
Oh, it was crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was a fun night. And believe me, my dad, my uncle, and everybody that was there still talk about it to this day very fondly.
That's great. Well, Boyd, being the director of safety of a major concrete construction like you are, you've come a long way, because you were hardly the epitome of safety. And then even later in life, the hunting trips and duck hunting trips I've been on with Brett and with Jason. I mean, I can tell you walking in waist-high waters across Rice Lake in North Dakota, wondering if this is the day I'm going to die, or if I'm on horses with Brett Law in Durango, Colorado, and Brett smacks the ass of your horse, and my big butt's on a horse going Mach 3, and it's hardly the safety aspect. So you got to have a good story or two, Jason.
Well, like the whole Colorado thing, we went 4 times. I killed 2 elk, and I went to the hospital the other 2 times. So, that I don't know if they said, "Hey, let's get the most dangerous guy we can find and put him in here and let him figure it out." But I don't know. Oh man, I mean, I think a lot about the times we spent there, but I also think a lot about the times we've spent post being there, like going and doing stuff with Brett's dad, where not only have we become friends, but we've become friends with each other's parents and siblings. And, like we went on our big Argentina trip here the other year, and just like the whole adventure of it all, like the whole the whole thing together for me is special, and so it'd be hard to pin down one memory. There's a few of them that people tell me about that I don't necessarily have recollection that they're memories.
Right.
But apparently they happened. Apparently there may be some people in a dumpster somewhere. According to law, I was throwing them in there left and right. But
well, I think Jason, it's a great point because it all came full circle. What 2-3 years ago? Tim OC's always does things a little less traditional, and like I said earlier, he found the love of his life at 40 whatever years old and got married at 50. And I tell people I went to the absolute best bachelor party ever. And everyone always thinks about, bachelor party. They think about all the traditional things that you do. But at 50 years old, we started off on Friday night with one of our other roommates where we watched a high school football game on Friday night. And then we drove an hour and a half to the west to a small college to watch Smitty's son play. He was at DePaul University at the time playing offensive line for them. So we watched a college game on Saturday. Then on Saturday night, we go to a comedy club, and then we have a steak dinner. And then on Sunday, we go to the Bears-Browns game because Tim is a huge Bears fan. And so we got to see 3 levels of football in 3 days at a bachelor party for a bunch of 50-year-olds. And it was absolutely awesome. And that was so cool to have this friendship come together all years later and be able to have a weekend like that really showed what it's all about. What you're talking about, Jason. So I wanted to bring that up. It's a pretty damn good story.
Yeah, Josh, thanks for bringing it up because it makes me think about a couple of our roommates, teammates, and in preparation or thinking about Ohio State. There's one for me. I was able to travel to this game, which I didn't always travel, even as a senior in my last year. And I still think Mike Zarko, he did something to the travel list or something to get me on. I don't think I was legit supposed to be on this thing. And when we went there, I don't, again, because I hadn't gone to too many away games, to be honest, but, you go into the horseshoe like the night before. And I remember, on Friday, I think we were there. And I remember some reporter, which you Ohio guys may know, with some crazy pants or whatever, and it got Clay Williams all worked up, right? And I don't even know the whole story. You may know more about it, but Clay, obviously, Licking Valley, Ohio, and Ohio State means so much, like it does to Jim and Josh, I believe, right? And the two things that I remember, because Zarko kind of put that with Josh, with Chris, with a lot of people, put a great experience together for all of us and for me, but he, I really think made me able to travel to play at Ohio State, which, I wish we could show the video, but I do have the travel itinerary. So I can tell you who your roommates are and who was rooming with who. Zarko,
Holy cow.
Pre-game, he's walking around.
That's spectacular.
And we shook hands. In Mike's story, in football, he persevered and he took a different path. He didn't really have a choice, let's say, but he, embraced the coaching. And we all thought that was the coolest thing in the world because Zeke, kind of took to it. But I remember gripping his hand in those warm-ups on that field and on that grass. I'll never forget that moment. And I'm telling you, I still think he snuck me onto the travel list because I don't think, I think they might have looked up and said, how did he make it here? But if you want to know who your roommate was on that trip, I can let you know. I also do have the Buckeye because that was the first time I'd heard that story from Coach Mallory the night before. And it was awesome the way he built up to it. Like, it ain't much, we love him. And then he goes, it ain't worth shit. I'll never forget that. So, I mean, when it all wound up, it was a lot more. It was much better speech than that. But so I want to wind it around to the Ohio State part. But like Clay Williams, how he was in that tunnel with that reporter, it was just kind of a moment, right? I don't know the whole story behind it. He was really emotional. And then obviously Z being on the field, walking around before the game, I'll always remember that.
Yeah, pretty cool. All right, couple of little fun questions here. So we're a group of 7 guys here. If we were challenged to take down a hippo with no weapons, how many people would you put in your crew? You have to kill it. You got to kill a hippo.
On land or in water?
That's actually a great question because on water, I'm out.
Yeah. I don't know.
You got to kill it with no weapons?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know how many it would take, but I know how many I'd use. I'd use everybody.
All of them. Yeah, 100%. Whatever it is.
I think it's about preparation. And there's one way that we've shown time and time again, whether it was in 306 or 308 or in, I think it was Broad Ripple, Indiana or whatever. Like if we get together and we prepare properly before that assignment, there's nothing that can stop us.
Well, and who's
Broad Ripple? Three right turns can stop you in Broad Ripple.
That's right. Lead you right back home, boys.
Yeah.
Not even a vacuum or a piano.
Oh God!
Nothing can stop us.
Right. Or waking up under an RV, got knocked out with a brick. But it's you think about, is it 30? Could 30 people take down a hit well? And who's going first?
Nah, that's the thing. The first 2 or 3 are going to be sore as hell tomorrow.
Sore. I don't think sore. I think there's going to be a memorial plaque for you, dude. Those things have 6 centimeter thick skin. They run 20 miles an hour. Brett or Jim maybe could have caught them back in the day, but not now. But no, it's a good story to think about, you know. And Zach and my sons, they say about 15 or 20, and I'm like, you're fucking crazy, man. It's like 40 or 50.
And we need a platoon.
Yeah, you need a village.
Yeah,
you need a village.
So with that same thing about getting older and weaker and slower, if you could go back and play a football game, how long do you think you could last?
I'd last one kick.
Just one kick?
I'd tear something. There's a 100% chance. Whether it was quad or hamstring, I'm not sure which would go first, but I think I'd make it about one play.
You're not kicking at 86 yards, I can tell you that.
I'd be lucky to kick it 16 yards.
Yeah, I used to say I'd last a quarter, but now I think I just want one play.
Yeah.
Smitty, you're in pretty damn good shape. You last a quarter.
Yeah, but do you have to play the same position though?
Yes. That's why Jim gets a benefit.
Yeah, he'll play a full game as a punter.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a little underweight for today's standards.
Yeah, no doubt.
Speaking of today's standards, when did 55-yard field goals just become like no big deal?
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yep. I think the training has helped that a lot, you know, just like the subspecialization of, well, hell, Jim, you had a baseball son. You know, think of all the things you did for him with baseball.
Yeah.
You didn't go to kicking clinics in 7th grade, you know?
No. I didn't know if there was any.
Right. So that whole thing that whole thing has helped evolve the kickers and punters, the subspecialization, the early training. I mean, we all know high school kids that are booming it, you know, as much as we used to do in college. So I think it's part of the game. If you don't believe in evolution, go watch football games from 20, 50, and 70 years ago. That'll teach you something.
Well, these guys weren't fighting with Pacey over wanting to use a brand new football in the game.
Yeah, right. Boyd, what were you going to say?
I said we won 2 world wars with push-ups and sit-ups. It's a little different now.
Exactly.
Yeah, so true.
Exactly.
I didn't know what a dynamic stretch was until about 15 years ago.
Right. Well, boys, this has been a lot of fun. Anybody got anything else they want to add? Story to tell that friends or family or anybody might want to hear?
No, I just thought, you know, first of all, just even tonight, just seeing you guys, man, I appreciate it. It's awesome. I think we all look back with a lot of fond memories, and you know, this game coming up this weekend's a big one. You know, my high school coach was a GA for Woody Hayes. I grew up in Columbus, and my parents have their degrees from Ohio State, and I mean, it's like, man, forever. It was, you know, one day on the calendar where I just knew I had very little chance of having bragging rights in the house, and you know, it's to have this team going in there is, man, it's awesome. It's really cool. And the fact that this team is getting a lot of us back together is really cool. I mean, that's an unintended consequence that you don't necessarily think about, but you know, you can't outspend winning. And, you know, when there's this much enthusiasm and energy behind it, and, you know, next thing you know, guys who haven't talked to each other in years and years are hanging out on a Zoom call on a Tuesday night. And
Right.
It's awesome, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, what's even further awesome is the fact that, and I've said this for years, guys, is that we don't see each other for years, but we never miss a beat.
Yep.
And it's just like we're back together, that we never left. And that is what's so special to me.
100%.
Yeah, just fuck the NIL, fuck the this, the that, the other. I mean, we talked about it earlier, right, guys? That what we created, what we did, and now with the success of the program, it's just goddamn fun, right? To be, you can't believe me, guys. I've lived in Wisconsin for 25 years, and there's not been very many where I've been able to walk around with my head high, even in basketball. And now, I mean, like today, I got I got a IAU pullover on, and I wear it proudly. And it's just like, fuck you, and fuck you. I mean, any fuckers have any questions?
Right. Well, we've always said that, but now we can back it up a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah.
No, that's
Too bad you're not wearing that shirt in Lincoln, Nebraska. Those boys took a whooping.
Yeah, we laid a 50 on those fuckers.
Right.
Well,
sorry, Jason, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I should have raised my hand. I will be there Saturday to see how it goes down. So I'm excited to be up there for it, for the atmosphere and really
Awesome.
Put ourselves to the test. I think it was a great, the Michigan win was great, but I think it was to have a close win and not play your best football 2 weeks prior to Ohio State. I think that's a good recipe for that team. That
they needed that. They need a little gut check.
Yeah, and I think they aren't going to take any of it for granted, and they're going to continue to prepare the way they prepared all year, and maintain that high standard and have expectations, hold each other accountable, fast, physical, relentless, and get after it. So it'd be fun Saturday.
Boyd, I've been sitting on it, but I'm flying in too. My dad's had season tickets for 35 years, 40 years, whatever it is, and he earmarked that game to save his tickets. And as the season went along, I'm like, Dad, I'm coming out. We're rooting for different teams, but I'm coming out.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, Dr. Boyd and I will be there.
All right.
Nice. We're planning on attending too, Jim. So we'll have to figure out what's all going on. So
yeah, for sure. My dad.
Smitty, anything in closing? Smitty, anything to add in closing, or Tim?
Well, I'll sort of go back to what Brett was talking about just a moment ago. I mean, we're fortunate that we have a band of brothers. We few, we happy, we band of brothers. Is something that will last us a lifetime, and I'm extremely fortunate, to have friends and people that we can pick up conversations and we can share stories and have moments like this and look forward to games like like this weekend. But none of that would have been possible if it wasn't for the fact that there was a certain coach out there who looked upon us many years ago to say, hey, I'm choosing you for your character, I'm choosing you for your integrity, I'm choosing you because you belong here in this program. And that to me is something that I think very few individuals get to have in their lifetime. And I would just want to say that I'm extremely fortunate to have this opportunity to share moments like this with my band of brothers here.
Awesome.
Totally.
Yeah, well said, Smitty.
Yeah,
thank you, Smitty.
Yeah, I wrote a close, but you guys closed it enough, man. What I thought about was just similar things, man. I'll race any of you guys tomorrow in a beer bong race, but I'll defend you guys anytime, and I look forward to many more laughs in the future. Like Brett said, fuck NIL, fuck transfer portal. It certainly is messing with college football, and I can't.
And fuck that rhino. We're going to fuck his ass up.
Yeah, the rhino. Hippo.
Yeah, him too.
Right.
He'll take all comers. He don't care.
Right. But you don't think about what the score was against Missouri in 1991. You think about life afterwards with weddings, reunions, vacations, hunting trips, kids, and now even grandchildren, right? And now we got a big game on Saturday, and let's go get it done in the shoe against Ohio State. So thank you, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
Indiana.
This episode was sponsored by Cappy's Wine and Spirits in downtown Loveland. Tap room, bottle shop, meeting place, great music, gift ideas, and just a traditional watering hole. Visit Cappy's for your upcoming holiday needs or watching any of the upcoming big games. Hope you all enjoyed this podcast. We're always looking for other ideas that we can share some great sports stories, so please send the ideas to me at lovelandallsports@gmail.com. Peace.